Hello. Hi, everybody again. Yes, I'm happy to be here today. And just to mention that when I look around this room, I'm convinced beyond reasonable doubt that at least 1 in every 3 people resonate with what I'm about to speak on. Statistics from the World Health Organization indicate that 1 out of every 3 women in this world have faced sexual harassment. How many of us have faced sexual harassment? Don't answer, oh my. Somebody actually said yes, but that's not an everyday scenario where somebody will say, oh my, I have actually faced sexual harassment. That is not our everyday story. And when you look at the genesis of sexual harassment, it can come from an intimate partner or a non-intimate person in your life. Today, when we read books and analyze predisposing factors to sexual harassment, we think about many things, especially in our Kenyan and African scenario. I was just checking randomly at various kinds of literature. Predisposing factors: low levels of education, poverty, mental illness. It seems like you have to have something wrong with you. There has to be a problem for you to face sexual harassment. But that's in literature. The reality is anybody can face sexual harassment, and they can face it from anybody. So every one of us, whether you raised your hand or you did not raise your hand, whether you're a man or you are a woman, you can face sexual harassment. And it is nothing to be embarrassed about, because you cannot afford to be embarrassed about something you had no control over. And in our setting, it is difficult for people to speak up and say that I have faced sexual harassment because of the myths that come with it. The myths include you must be very weak, especially if you're a woman. You must be weak for you to face sexual harassment. Couldn't you stand up for yourself? If we could all be stand up for ourselves, then 1 out of every 3 women would not be facing harassment, right? Another myth that comes with it: you brought this to yourself. We know her. That's how she dresses. What else did you expect? Didn't you all know that one day she was going to face this? That is a myth, that we brought it to ourselves. Another thing that happens when an individual faces sexual harassment, people fear about the repercussions of speaking about it. They fear that it may cause them prejudice, especially for women. And I want to say especially for women in male-dominated communities and in male-dominated spaces. The first fear is, I will be segregated more if I speak and say that I have been sexually violated. There is also this notion that when we talk about sexual violation, we are talking about penetrative sexual experiences. That is not the case. And that is what comes to people's minds. Oh, we are so sorry. So what happened? How did you deal about it? Some people don't want to talk about it because talking about sexual experiences is a taboo. But when you look at the whole arena of sexual harassment, it goes beyond physical intimidation. And irrespective of the kind of sexual harassment that a woman goes through, it has a psychological or a physical effect, a negative effect on them. Nobody ever went through any experience of sexual harassment and came out strongly celebrating simply because of the experience. It takes an extra mile, something more, to be able to speak about it, to be able to acknowledge that you cannot allow this to go on. Without that, you will suffer negative consequences. I want to tell you about my own story. I am a woman who, by all standards, has broken the glass ceiling at my age, worked in a male-dominated space. I have broken the glass ceiling based on any standards of a young woman who grew up in the circumstances that I have grown up in. I am the woman champion. I am the woman boss. I am the woman leader. I am the woman hero. That doesn't make me special. That doesn't protect me from the kinds of violations that I face. And as a woman in leadership, being an empowered woman, understanding the dynamics that women go through in different spaces, I am the champion to stand up for other women. But as the woman boss, who stands up for me? And if I am going to stand out and say, I am going through some form of sexual harassment, what hope am I leaving for the people who look up to me? Am I leaving them powerful or helpless? In most cases, they feel weak. I break their spirit. I make it unconsciously look like a woman at this level will go through that. Yet, it is not all women who will go through it. Yet, no woman is immune to this just because you're breaking the glass ceilings in your community, in your industry, in your family, in your space. Nobody is too special not to undergo harassment. Others look at me and say, she's empowered enough. She's always challenging the status quo. She confronts issues as they come. Who would harass her? Who would even think about it? But that doesn't make me any special. I am a woman like any other. I also contribute to the 1 out of every 3 women who face different forms of sexual harassment in their day-to-day life. And I too am affected psychologically by the things that I face. I want to give scenarios that demonstrate what I am talking about. About 4 years ago, I was given an assignment with a male colleague. We were both holding the same leadership positions. And our boss gave us an assignment, and it needed to be done. Being the woman that I am who needs tasks to be done, I gave him a call and said, hello, when are we starting on our task? Well, he said, come to my office. We can discuss about this and agree. That sounds right. Is there anything wrong up to there? In any case, he was either to come to my office or I go to his office. And in this case, he has made a good suggestion. I made the first move. He has invited me to his office. When I went to his office, I stretched my hand to greet him. And he told me, move closer. We need to discuss this assignment as I feel your body. Yeah, I see a lot of you turning your heads down. They didn't tell you. They told me. We were just the 2 of us. I didn't know what to say. That was very embarrassing. It was very insulting. This was a professional task. And the only part of my body that hears are my ears. The rest of the body parts cannot hear anything, no matter how you feel them. Are we together? And I did not know what to do. Then I sat back and I thought, what is more important to me right now? Is it finishing the task or claiming my space, my power, my voice, and standing up for that which I thought I needed to stand up for? And I told him, we will continue this discussion later. A few weeks later, our boss called us and asked us how far we had gone with the assignment. And my male colleague answered very fast, and he said, we are working on the assignment. And I jumped in, I said, no, We are not working on the assignment because the last time we were supposed to work, this is exactly what he told me, and I felt offended. And the same way you looked down when I said the words that he wanted to feel my body, is the same way everybody looked down. How can you say that? How can you embarrass a male colleague? How can you speak about such things in front of other dignitaries? Couldn't you talk about it privately? But then I ask myself, why should the issue of my abuse be a secret? When you don't want me to speak about it, then there must be something wrong. That is just one incident. Another time, again, here I am, still the strong-willed woman, the person who's setting the pace, making sure that things are done, not being the one who will be the team member that lets every other person down. We have an assignment to do, again with a different colleague. And this time, we start communicating, and he says, you know what? You focus so much on work that you forget about your own personal happiness. But I said, hello, I haven't mentioned to anybody that I am not happy. So what makes somebody think that I am not happy? And he said, we need to learn to relate beyond our workspaces. It adds a lot of value when we can engage more. And I asked him, what exactly do you mean? He said, we need to have a secret relationship, a relationship that can make the two of us happy. And we were communicating on SMS. And I said, anything that is supposed to be a secret is not worth keeping. I have too big a mouth to use. I mean, if I'm not going to speak about this, what am I going to speak about? I want to be in a relationship I can speak about, okay? You know what he did? He saved his number, my number, with his name on the phone. And it appeared as if I was the one requesting for the relationship. And he was telling me he was not comfortable with a secret relationship. And he took a screenshot and sent it to other people. What is that supposed to be? That is, first, you are intrusive. Secondly, you try and gender shame me. And you know how the world goes? We knew it. That's how she gets into the offices she does. That's how she gets opportunities. Why? Because I'm a woman. What is that supposed to mean? What is that supposed to do? It is supposed to silence me, to make me feel embarrassed about ever speaking about sexual harassment. It is supposed to make me look so bad that the next time I even try to defend somebody, I will look like I'm simply defending a disciple I have recruited. And that's not the case. The reality is somebody intruded my space. They feel uncomfortable with my approach or my feedback to them. And therefore, they would like us to go through the same things. So that the whole world turns against me and I look like the bad one, so that I can lose credibility and legitimacy to ever speak about any form of sexual harassment that I encounter or any other person encounters. I repeat what I said initially, that when people harass you sexually, it doesn't need to involve any physical encounter. It is the personal space they invade and the feelings they leave in you, feelings that have the capacity to make or to break you. I have been a victim of social media and gender shaming, where individuals I have never met, I don't even know whether they are real individuals or those are ghost accounts, have spoken very nasty sexual things about me, including speaking about personal experiences with me, yet I don't even know them. And I want to say, that nobody can be safe when it comes to sexual harassment. I know myself, and people who know me will tell you, she's a strong person, she will manage. But I want to tell you my own personal experiences, that all these things I have talked about, and these are just a tip of the iceberg, are things that broke my heart. They made me question my own self. How am I presenting myself? What kind of communication am I sending out there? Is there something wrong I am doing that is being misunderstood? I even asked myself at one point, isn't there any other value that anybody can see in me apart from sexual related aspects? It has a way of draining one's self-esteem, irrespective of where you are in life. And the challenge here is simple. When you are the woman in leadership, you are everybody's champion. You are the boss at work. You are the big sister. You are the person mentoring every other girl around you. So whom are you turning to? Where are you complaining? Sometimes even the places you need to complain to, you have greater power than them. So where are you complaining? Does that mean you will ignore it? Last year, when the Me Too campaign started, I resonated with it, especially when I saw quite a number of people asking very strange questions. So you're opening up now. Where have you been all these years? Why haven't you spoken about it? Here is the truth. Is there a right time to speak about sexual harassment? The answer is there is really no right time. Every time is the right time. Every time is the right time to speak about sexual harassment. And then people said, why have you been quiet all these years? And I could resonate with what a lot of women had gone through, either consciously or unconsciously. For the longest time possible, you feel you are not sure whether it is the right thing to do. You think about the repercussions to all the people around you and to your own self. I once encountered a man I was having a drink with a male friend, and somebody I know passed. I don't know whether that was a joke or it was just one of those deliberate random statements. He told my male friend, please take care as you have your drink. You may easily be charged for crimes, for sexual crimes you have not committed. I mean, just because I stood up once or twice to say something doesn't mean that every other man I am seen with risks being reported. I mean, you will not be reported if you haven't done anything. I will not complain if you are not offensive. And what did I do? I thought that as the woman champion, as the woman leader, as that person who's still planning to soar until I become the president of this world, I must continue to speak, because these kind of violations are not going to stop. I also realized one very precious thing, that I must not be afraid to reach out to people to hold my hand and help me speak against these things, just because the rest of the world thinks, hello, can it really happen to her? That is not a reservation for me. So throughout my life, I decided to also look for male advocates who can stand up and defend women, who can communicate to other men and make them feel and understand how we women feel when we are exposed to certain scenarios. I looked at it and I said, there are many women whose growth will be curtailed because they are afraid to speak. And unless women like me start speaking about these things, nothing much is going to change. So when we hear about Me Too, I say, me too. I have been in that scenario, and I want you to say, me too. I want to be counted as an individual who was able to prevent any form of sexual harassment to a woman, irrespective of where she stands. Let us not forget that 1 out of 3 women in this whole world face sexual harassment, whether it is through somebody they know, somebody they do not know, or it is physical or non-physical. And irrespective of the kind of violence they face, it has a potential of curtailing their personal growth. And when a woman's personal growth is curtailed, the growth of the community is also curtailed in one way or another. So this morning, I urge each one of you, join me. Let it be you too, me too, you too, and let it be all of us, speaking up to protect women against all forms of sexual violence, irrespective of how they occur. Thank you very much.